Hi folks, this is Mr. Tolbert, Mr. Tolbert's physical science class. I'm making this particular lesson so that I can touch base with more of you guys in class today, and you'll be able to watch this to do the book learning part of our class today. You can see on your screen what my little plan is. It's basically chapter 4, lesson 2. It'll be the end of the first lesson, and I'll go throughout the second lesson so that you can watch this and move your knowledge forward. So here is where we are. Here we go. All right. So position uses positive and negative numbers. Positive numbers are for positions to the right of the origin. Negative numbers are for positions to the left of the origin. You've got to be thinking about, young folks, the origin is the place where you start. In the middle is going to be 0. Okay. And then on a number line, as you move one direction, you get negative numbers, and as you use the other direction, you get positive numbers. So that's what I'm referring to. Distance, of course, is always positive. Distance is either 0 or some positive value. You can't travel 0 or negative distance. Distance is always positive. So no negative numbers for distance. However, you can get a negative when you're describing if it was south or if it was possibly west. We use the term velocity to mean speed with direction. I went over this a little bit the other day, but I'm just going to go ahead and reiterate that. Speed is simply like miles per hour. How fast are you going? Distance over time. Velocity is one step further. That's going to describe your orientation. Like I was moving at 5 miles per hour towards Monarch, away from my house, west, northward, eastward, up, down. Those are all things that allow it to be scalar and allow it to be a vector. We use this information. An example here, you've got Pathfinder, small robot sent to Mars, lots of long years before you were even born. And we have to understand vectors because it was a remote control, and you have to be able to move it in all 3 dimensions and not just 1 dimension. So Pathfinder keeps track of its velocity by using a clock. Suppose Pathfinder moves forward at 0 meters per second for 10 seconds. So it's going to move from an origin to 2 meters ahead for 10 seconds. Okay? And if it does that all you need to do is take your distance divided by your time. My distance is 2 meters. Divide that by my time is 10 seconds. That gives you 0.2 meters per second. Suppose it goes backwards. Now, backwards is you're not going a negative distance. However, you can call it negative because that is a negative direction. Okay, backwards would be the negative direction. So the Pathfinder has a change of position here of 4 seconds or 0.8 meters. The change in position is the velocity multiplied by the time. So you can keep track of the total distance that it went. It went forward for about 2 meters, and then it went backward for 2 meters, and then it rested at a new location or position that was 1.2 meters from its starting position. So if it was crawling straight on a board, we could describe it, but it's got more choices than that. It can travel north, south, east, or west. We know these as places that we stick on a map. In fact, a map basically is the number line extended into quadrants that we can use to describe where things are. Suppose you run east for 10 seconds at the speed of 2 meters per second. Then you turn and run south at the same speed for 10 more seconds. Where are you in comparison to where you started? So this here, I say write it on your word map. By word map, I mean write this down someplace so you can orient yourself to where things are located on a sheet of paper or in the world. For instance, if you have a sheet of paper, the top of the paper is going to be north, always the top north. The bottom is going to be south, okay? Then, as you look at it, This side here is going to be the west side of the paper. This side here is going to be the east side of the paper. So if you can put a little compass on your paper or understand what compasses are for, that would be just great. So to get your answer, to figure out where you were after you moved those distances, you would have to figure out its coordinates. Coordinates gives you an x value and a y value. Remember, x value is the horizontal, okay? The y value is the vertical. Your first movement had the velocity of 2 meters per second in a positive direction, or east or west to east for 10 seconds. So we'd move from the origin this direction. In order to find the distance, I would simply plug that in as distance is equal to the velocity times the time. Your speed in your second movement is negative because if you go down now, down at the bottom of the page, remember, was the negative direction, or north, or south, or south. So traveling that is a negative direction, but it's not necessarily negative distance. And here's a little more information about solving some problems. Let's go ahead and move on. I'll play that full out, and there's lesson 3. So I'd like you to motion in a straight line.
Hi, I'm Dr. Shiniso Mara, and I hear you want to learn physics. I have to say, good choice. Physics is a science.
And that's basically the end of this particular lesson, end of lesson, the end of 1 and all the way through lesson number 2. I hope you're having a blessed day.